What is it that could not have waited an hour? Was dawn invaded?
The king is dead.
Three words. And every man in that chamber recalibrates. Otto Hightower does not announce a death. He announces a sequence. There is no pause for grief, no acknowledgement of the man who just stopped breathing somewhere in the castle behind them. He moves, straight from loss to logistics, because for Otto, Viserys was never a man to mourn. He was a mechanism to outlast, but Alicent did not know that. Not yet, not fully. She walks into that chamber in mourning clothes, her husband's body still warm, and asks a reasonable question. What could not wait until dawn? And her father answers with the most loaded sentence in House of the Dragon. Not because the king is dead, because of what Otto does with that death in the next 90 seconds. To calculate the atmospheric pressure of this Red Keep Council chamber, we must understand what each person at that table needs from this specific meeting. Otto Hightower needs speed. Every hour that passes without Aegon crowned is an hour Rhaenyra can mobilize. Tywin Lannister needs the treasury sealed before word of Viserys' death reaches a single lord outside this room. Lyman Beesbury needs to believe that the institution he has served for decades still carries meaning. And Alicent needs to believe she is in this room because she matters. Because her years of obedience, her silence, the slow erasure of every personal want she ever had, earned her a seat at the table where real decisions are made. What she is about to discover is that she was brought here as a prop. Her grief is the permission slip. Her presence is the moral cover. The men around her have been building toward this moment for years. None of them told her a single word.
Then we may proceed now with the full assurance of his blessing on our long-laid plans.
Tywin Lannister says it without blinking. He does not whisper it. He does not hedge it. He says long laid the way a man says obviously, as though everyone in the room has always known. And in that phrase, Alicent's entire self-conception cracks. She was the queen. She was the mother of the heir they are now rushing to crown. And they planned all of this, the treasury split, the ravens, the city watch captains, without her. Moral exclusion. The psychological process by which a group removes an individual from the circle of people whose consent or awareness is considered necessary for a decision that directly concerns them. Otto did not exclude Alicent because he feared her objection. Her objection was irrelevant to him. She was useful as a symbol. A queen who genuinely did not know about the plot cannot be accused of orchestrating it. She can stand before lords and speak with authentic conviction about her husband's dying wish, because she actually believes the version she was handed. Otto needed her ignorance clean so her certainty would be real. And when Alicent says, "I will not have this," that is a daughter discovering in real time that her father has never once needed her as a partner in the project she thought they shared.
Am I to understand that members of the small council have been planning secretly to install my son without me?
Listen to the phrasing. Not "how dare you." Not "this is wrong." She says, "Am I to understand," a construction that still leaves room for her to be mistaken. 20 years of self-erasure trained this reflex into her. She performs composure even when the ground has opened. And Otto answers her with the most quietly devastating line he has ever delivered to his own daughter. "There was no need to sully you with darkling schemes." He is not softening a blow. He is classifying her. Her ignorance was an operational requirement, not a courtesy. And the word sully is the tell. It implies she is something pure, something to be protected from the dirt of ambition. What it actually means is that her awareness was a liability he could not afford. The clean hands doctrine, a manipulation strategy in which a dominant figure withholds information from a subordinate not to protect them, but to preserve the subordinate's usefulness as a symbol of moral legitimacy while the dominant figure executes decisions the subordinate might resist. Alicent's clean hands were Otto's most valuable asset in the room. Her fury when she discovers the plot is not a complication, it is confirmation of her authenticity. Every lord who will later hear that the queen herself was stunned by the conspiracy will find her grief credible. Otto built a political operation around his own daughter's sincerity, and she is only now reading the architecture.
You heard the Lord Hand, plot or no, the king changed his mind.
30 seconds ago she was objecting. Now she is repeating Otto's claim as settled fact. The pivot happens faster than most viewers catch because Alicent does not announce it. She simply crosses a threshold, from the position of the betrayed woman into the position of the righteous one, because the first position has no power in that room. No dignity, no utility. Duty conversion. The psychological mechanism by which a person who has been bypassed or excluded reframes their compliance with an outcome as a moral choice, converting passive victimhood into active righteousness to recover a functional sense of agency. She picks up the framework Otto built, Viserys' deathbed wish, and holds it as her own. Not from certainty that it is true, from necessity. Certainty is the only currency that still makes her relevant. And once the duty becomes hers, she defends it with the ferocity of someone who has nothing else behind it. Because she does not.
And I will not believe that he said this on his deathbed, alone with only the boy's mother as a witness.
Lyman Beesbury is 76 years old. He has sat at that table longer than any of them. He knew Viserys as a man, not as a mechanism. He does not accuse Alicent directly. He accuses the situation. One witness. A closed room. A claim that cannot be verified. He names what everyone already suspects without requiring anyone to be the first to say it aloud. The room does not answer him. It goes quiet in the particular way rooms go quiet when someone has said something true in the wrong place. Institutional witnessing. The use of a recognized authority figure's final act or statement, real or constructed, to legitimize a transfer of power that would otherwise require broader consensus, bypassing institutional checks by making dissent appear as disrespect for the dead. Otto constructed a political fact out of a private moment. One room, one claim, one person with the standing to repeat it publicly. Beesbury understands the mechanism and names it in ascending legal weight. Seizure, theft, treason. He is not angry. He is precise. And precision in that chamber at that moment is the most dangerous thing a man can be.
Which of us are you accusing of regicide, Lord Beesbury?
Whether it was
Otto does not answer the accusation. He redirects it. Which of us are you accusing shifts the weight from the crime to the accuser, forces Beesbury to name a specific person rather than name a pattern. Naming a person in a room full of powerful men requires proof. Naming a pattern requires only observation. Otto collapses the accusation back to the harder standard. He knows before he opens his mouth that Beesbury cannot meet it. Alicent watches this happen. She has already passed the point where she could stop it. When Criston Cole slams Beesbury's head into the stone table, she does not call for justice. She says there was no insult to me, Sir Criston. The oldest man in the room dies for saying the word treason, and she is managing the optics of his death within seconds. The complicity threshold. The point at which a person who did not initiate a harmful act becomes functionally responsible for it by choosing procedural calm over resistance, absorbing the consequences of another person's violence without disrupting the structure that produced it. Alicent did not kill Beesbury. She contains his death. She gives Criston a verbal release valve that allows the room to keep moving. Every person in that chamber now knows what dissent costs. They watched it. And they know the Queen saw it too, and chose continuity. In the logic of King's Landing, this is governance. The ceiling holds the structure up, regardless of what it costs to stand beneath it.
I care not. I will have no part.
Throw down your sword and remove your cloak, Sir Criston.
She corrects the man who is defending her. Not to protect Beesbury, he is already gone. She does it to establish jurisdiction. To make clear that her honor is hers alone to define, that Criston does not get to feel righteous on her behalf without her authorization. Even the violence done in her name requires her approval to be legitimate. This is not mercy operating under pressure. This is sovereignty over her own moral image, the one thing nobody in that room could plan around or take from her without her consent. But here is what the show never told you. In George R.R. Martin's Fire and Blood, Alicent Hightower's role in the succession crisis runs deeper than the show's framing of a woman reacting to her father's plans. The source material implies she had spent years cultivating private correspondence with lords whose loyalty was not bought through Otto's logistics, but through her own sustained relationships, letters, favors, the slow accumulation of obligation. The show frames her as someone who discovers the coup and then adopts it. The novels frame her as someone who had been running a parallel operation the entire time, which means the wound of that morning was not ignorance. It was that she had built something real and deliberate, and Otto still did not tell her. The exclusion was not because she was passive. It was because even her own father could not fully let her in. In any organization, the person who sacrificed most for the mission becomes its most rigid enforcer. They do not protect the mission. They protect the costs they paid for it. They demand compliance not because compliance produces results, but because their compliance produced nothing except compliance. And they need that to have been enough. Every challenge to the standards becomes a challenge to the arithmetic of their sacrifice. The demand gets dressed in the language of integrity, of what is right. But underneath it is a ledger. I paid this much. You owe this much. The people subject to that equation never win, because the number the enforcer needs back is the one thing no amount of obedience can return. Every choice Alicent makes after this chamber can be traced back to a single conversion. The moment she picked up Otto's plan and decided it was hers. But here's the question worth sitting with. Was she protecting her son's claim? Or was she protecting the only version of herself that still made sense after everything she surrendered?